Hello guys, my name is Balkrishna Srivastav and welcome to CodeWithBK. So in this video, we solve the problem to read a matrix input into a Java program. So this is the input we are given, okay? So we are given 3 rows and each row has 4 values, so 4 columns. And we have to read this input in a Java program. So in this case, we are not given the number of rows and number of columns separately, okay? So there is a case where you are given number of rows first, then number of columns, and then these values. We have already covered that case in a separate video. In this case, we don't have number of rows and number of columns separately. Okay, we just have these values, and from these values, we have to identify the number of rows, number of columns, create a matrix, and fill the values inside that matrix. Okay. So before we begin, it is request that if you like this video, if you find this video helpful, please do subscribe to my channel because your support is very important for me to grow on YouTube. So I'll start with a basic template. I'll say class matrix input, okay, and I'll say public static void main, okay, and my function closes. Okay, so in order to read this input into a matrix, we have to first create the matrix, and to first create the matrix, we should be knowing the number of rows and number of columns from this input. Okay, so I should be knowing the number of rows. Okay, this stores number of rows. Okay, m will be the number of rows, then we will have n for number of columns. Okay, and to store this matrix, I'll take a 2D array named A, which will be storing the matrix values. So our first task is to identify the value of m, which is number of rows, and then we identify number of columns. Okay, so our first task is to find the number of rows, the value of m. Okay, so if you observe the input, the number of lines basically is equal to the number of rows. Okay, first line represents first row, second line represents second row, third line represents third row, and so on if there are more rows. So somehow if we are able to count the number of lines in input, that would give us the number of rows, which will be the value of m. Okay, so to read this input, I'll create a scanner. I'll say scanner sc equal to new scanner. Okay, and I'll pass system.in as the argument to the constructor to indicate that my source, okay, from where this scan is going to read is standard input. This is basically your console or terminal. Okay, so how do we count the number of lines? We can use the hasNextLine and nextInt methods of the scanner class. So the nextInt method in scanner class basically reads a line, okay, and hasNextLine method in scanner class tells if there is another line to read in the input. Okay, so it will look something like this: while sc.hasNextLine, okay, I do sc.nextLine, okay, and store this in a string s, okay, and close the while loop. Okay, so what this loop is doing basically, as long as there is a line in input, okay, read a line. Sc hasNextLine return true or false if there is a line of input left or not, and this will read a line. Okay, so if we count how many times this loop runs, we can count the number of lines. So I will set m to 0, okay, which is the number of rows, and in each iteration I do m plus plus. Okay, because in each iteration I am reading a line which is basically a row, so I can say string row is sc.nextLine. Okay, you are reading one row as a string into this row. Okay, so at the end of this loop here, okay, we have m stores number of rows. Okay, all right. Now what is the problem with this code? The problem with this code is that we have exhausted all the input. We have exhausted all the input means this scanner has gone through all the input, read all the lines. Okay, we were able to find the number of rows, but we haven't stored these rows anywhere yet. So how would we find the values then? Okay, so in this loop, when we are reading a row, we also need to store these rows that we are reading. Okay, so to store these rows, we can either use an array, but for an array you should know the size, right? Or you will have to take an array of a very large size so that the number of rows are always less than the array size. Okay, but here we will make use of the inbuilt data structures in Java. I will use an array list. So I'll put this here. I'll say array list string of type string, because this array list will be storing my rows, which are basically strings, which are basically each line. Okay, I'll say give it the name rows equal to new array list of type. You can keep this blank as well, okay, or you can give this string. It means the same. Okay, so we are using array list because this behaves as a list. Okay, we don't have to worry about the size of this array list. This can adjust its size with more values that are added to this. Okay, so we want rows to store all our input rows because we can scan the input only once. Okay, so we need to add each row to this rows. So basically, okay, before I close the loop, I do rows dot add this particular row, and then I can say m stores number of rows stores the rows. Okay, all right. So we have the number of rows which is in m, and we are storing all the rows as a string into this rows. So this job is done, and if you consider this array list, okay, so the first row will look something like 2, 8, 16, 10, okay, and common next row will be like 4, 1, 9, 18, okay, and the next row will be like 7, 3, 8, 21. This is also a string, okay. So this rows will have 3 strings, okay, each string will be a row, okay, all right. So our next task is to find the number of columns. So the number of columns, okay, is basically the number of integers in any row, okay, because the number of integers in all rows are the same. So what we have to do, pick up any row and count the number of integers in that, okay, that will give us the value of n. Okay, so in this case, to count the number of integers in a string, I am going to use scanner. Now how can we use scanner? Scanner basically reads from a source. In this case, the source is std in standard input. Okay, we can also use scanner to read from string as a source. Okay, so we can say scanner, okay, row scanner, row sc equal to new scanner. Okay, and we can pass a string to this scanner as a source. And what is the string that I want to pass? I want to pass a row, okay, a row string. So I'll pass the first row. So in order to get the first row from this rows array list, I do rows dot get 0. Okay, all right. So now this scanner is basically scanning this string 2, 8, 16, 10. Okay, all right. And this will scan this string in the very same way a scanner scans from standard input. Okay, following the same rules. Okay. So if you look at this loop, we were able to use a scanner to count the number of lines in the input, okay, using has next line and using next line. Similarly, we can use this scanner to count the number of integers in this string because this scanner is scanning this string, and we can use functions very similar to this. So in order to count integers, we can use has nextInt and nextInt. Okay, so I can say while row sc dot has nextInt, okay, int t is row sc dot nextInt. Okay, all right. And just as we were counting the number of rows in this case, we set n equal to 0, okay, and we count number of columns. Okay, this basically means as long as there is an integer in this input, which is a string, extract an integer, increment the number of rows by 1. So the dry run of this I'm going to show you at the end, okay. But when we are here, n stores number of columns. Okay, so our task to find number of columns is also done. Okay, and with this loop, we are not actually losing the input the way we were here, because I could scan only once this input. Okay, this input is only given once, but in this case, I can create a scanner again with this same row, okay, and scan again. Okay, so I've not lost any input here, but here I can scan only once. Okay, because here input is given in the standard input. Okay, so we have the value of m and n. We can create a matrix. We can do a equal to new int m and n. Okay, and when you create an integer array in Java, be it 1D array, be it 2D array, okay, all the locations take default values to 0. So if in this case we have m equal to 3, m comes out at 3 because 3 lines, n comes out at 4 because 4 integers in one line, we will have a something like this. Okay, 4 columns, 3 rows, all values set to 0. So column indices 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, row indices 0, 1, 2. Now we have to populate this matrix. Okay, till here okay, we have exhausted all our input from stdin, from standard input. Okay, we cannot read anything more from standard input. All our rows are stored in this rows array list. So just as we were able to scan one single row, okay, and extract integers from one row, okay, I will use the same idea to extract integers from all rows. Okay. Okay. So for each row in rows, I'll say for int I equal to 0, number of rows are m, I plus plus. Okay. For each row, I create a row scanner just like this. Okay. I can reuse this variable. I can say row sc equal to new scanner. Okay. Rows dot get ith row. Okay. All right. Okay. And then I use the same loop again to extract integers. I say while row sc dot has nextInt. Okay. You can use this, or you can also use a for loop that runs n times, and you can call nextInt n times. Okay. It will give you the same output. I'm going to reuse this loop. Okay. I'll say while row sc has dot nextInt, I extract the int t is equal to sc dot nextInt, row sc dot nextInt. Okay. All right. Oh, for loop ends here. Okay. So how do I store my values into the matrix? I take int j equal to 0. Okay. And for each value that is extracted, I do a, since this is ith row, and since each value that is extracted will be jth column, I'll say this is equal to t and increment the column. Okay. So by the end of this loop, you are picking up each row one by one as a string. You're scanning each row and you're populating each row. Okay. By extracting values from this row and populating it in the 2D array. Okay. So let me dry run this and show you how it works. Okay. So till here, it should be clear. Okay. We have three variables here. M stores the number of rows, n stores the number of columns. This is to store the matrix. And here we are creating a scanner object. Okay. This is where we create an array list. Okay. So you can imagine an array list with something like this. Okay. Empty. Okay. This is where we have the first call to scanner. Okay. We do while sc dot has next line. So has next line return true if scanner finds a change in line character or the end of input. Okay. So our input, this is change in line, and this is end of input. Okay. So scanner is scanning from here because no input is scanned yet. Okay. When it starts scanning from here, it scans and it finds a change in line character. So this returns true. Okay. This returns true. All right. We go inside, row is sc.nextLine. sc.nextLine is going to extract all the characters starting from where the input is to be read till it finds a change in line or end of input. Okay. So next line starts reading from here. Okay. Because this is where our input starts, and it reads this here. It stops because it finds a change in line. So this entire thing, 2 space 8 space 16 space 10 is read and returned in row. So row right now is 2, 8, 16, 10. Okay. Then we do m plus plus. M was 0. Okay. M becomes 1. Okay. M was 0. M becomes 1. Rows dot add row. So this becomes now 2, 8, 16, 10. Okay. We go back to check this. SC has next line. Okay. Again the same thing. Return true if there is a change in line or end of input. Now, okay, since this is read, okay, when you do next line, this change in line is also consumed. Okay. So now has next line starts reading from here and looks for a change in line or end of input. So it scans and it finds a change in line here. Okay. Returns true. Okay. Returns true again. Row is sc.nextLine. So it scans everything from where we have to read the input till it finds a change in line or end of input. Okay. So it extracts this entire thing till change in line. This character is not added to the string. Okay. Which is read. Okay. This is just to indicate that you have to read till here. Okay. So now row becomes, okay. So now row becomes 4, 1, 9, 18 and it is a string. Okay. Row stores now this. Then rows dot add row. So now this new row is added to, okay, rows. So now rows becomes this. Okay, again we go back to check for while loop condition. Has next line, it starts reading from here, it finds end of input true. There is a line, you go inside, row is sc dot next line. Okay, this line is returned, so we get row as 73821. Okay, and then you do rows dot add, so basically you get 2 8 16 10. Okay, 4 1 9 18, and this new row is added, is 73821. 3821. Okay, so rows becomes this, and then you go back, sc has next line, no, because we exhausted all input, this returns false, and you come here. Okay, after this while loop, then you say row scanner is new scanner, so we create a scanner. Okay, that gets this rows dot get 0, so this is location 0 1 2. Okay, for this rows 2 8 16 10, 2 8 16 10 in this scanner. Oh, so I did not increment the value of m, so when this row is z, n becomes 1, when this row is z, m becomes 2, when this row is z, m becomes 3. Okay, so here we have at the end m equal to 3. Okay, we created a row scanner. Okay, this is row scanner, n is 0. Okay, we say while row scanner has next int. Okay, row scanner starts scanning, it says okay, I see an int. Okay, this is not read, this is just checked. Okay, we say t is sc dot next int, t is sc dot next int, t is 2. Okay, so when you extract this sc dot next int, this part is used now. Okay, you start scanning from this next, the first white space now. Okay, and n becomes 1. Okay, you go back to check for condition, has next int will scan this and return true since there is 8. Okay, t is row sc dot next int, this is white space ignored, this is returned. Okay, so now t becomes 8. Okay, t becomes 8, n becomes 2. Okay, you go back to check for condition, has next int is true since 16 is still there. Okay, you do t is sc dot next int, t becomes 16, so the part used from this scanner input is 16. Okay, and n becomes 3. Okay, you go back to check for condition again, 10 is still there. Okay, you do sc dot next int. Okay, so this part is also consumed. Okay, so the entire input is consumed now, and n becomes 4, t is 10. Okay, so at the end of this loop, okay, n is 4, since row sc dot has next int will return false since the entire input is exhausted. Then we create a new matrix, okay, which is basically this. Okay, this is our new matrix A. All right, and then we do this: I is equal to 0, I is less than m, I plus plus. So this is I is 0, I is less than m, 0 is less than m is 3, which is true. Okay, so you create a row scanner. So row scanner again has, we have j equal to 0 as well. Okay, j is 0. You create row scanner with rows dot get I, which is 0. Rows dot get 0 will give you the same string. Okay, all right, this is your row scanner, row sc. Okay, and then you do while sc has next int. Okay, so there is an int, yes, 2 is there. Okay, you go inside, t is row sc dot next int, so this 2 is returned. Okay, this is used, so t is 2. Okay, and then you say aij is t, I 0, j 0, t is 2, so you say a00 is 2. Okay, you do j plus plus, j becomes 1. Okay, you go back, sc has next int is true since from here we find 8. Okay, t is sc dot next int, this is ignored, 8 is returned, t now becomes 8. Okay, t is 8, aij is 0, 1 is t, 0, 1 is 8. We do j plus plus, j becomes 2. Okay, we go back to check for while loop condition, row sc dot has next int, there is an integer 16 starting from here, so we return true. Then you do row sc dot next int, this part is used, 16 is returned, so t is 16. Okay, aij a0, 2 is t, which is 16. Okay, so 16 comes at 0, 2. Okay, j plus plus, j becomes 3. Okay, j becomes 3. You go back to check for while loop condition, row sc dot has next int, yes, there is an integer in this row sc, 10 is there. Okay, returns true. T is row sc dot next int, this is consumed, 10 is returned, t is 10 now. Okay, aij a0 comma 3 is 10. Okay, row sc has next int is false because we have consumed this entire input. Okay, so you come out of this while loop. Okay, you come here, I is incremented, I becomes 1 now. Okay, 1 is less than m, 1 is less than 3 is true. You come here, you create a new sc with rows.get I. Rows.get I is this string now, 41918. So you get row sc as 41918 and one space between all integers. Okay, you set j back to 0, j becomes 0 again. You do row sc has next int, row sc has next int is 2, since 4 is there as the next int. You do t is row sc dot next int. This is consumed, t becomes 4 now. aij a10 is t, a10 is 4. Okay, j plus plus, j becomes 1. Okay, row sc has next int is 2, since 1 is the next integer. Okay, you extract it in t, so white space is ignored, 1 is returned, t becomes 1. aij a11 is t, a11 is t, which is 1. J plus plus, j becomes 2. Okay, we go back to check for while loop condition. Row sc has next int, row sc has not next int is 2, since 9 is the next int, t gets 9. Okay, aij a12 is t, which is 9. Okay, j plus plus, j becomes 3. Okay, row sc has next int is 2, since 18 is the next integer, t gets 18. This white space is ignored, 18 is returned, t is 18. aij a13 is 18. Okay, j plus plus, j becomes 4. Okay, we go back to check for while loop condition. Has next int, returns false, since we have used this entire input. Okay, so we come out of this while loop, we go back to increment I becomes 2. Okay, 2 is less than 3 is true. You come inside, row sc is a new scanner with rows.get I, which is this, since I is 2. Okay, so 73821 is passed to this row sc. Okay, and there is a white space between all integers. We set j to 0, j becomes 0 again. Okay, we do row sc as dot next int is 2, since 7 is the first integer. Okay, t is row sc dot next int, this is consumed, so t becomes 7. Okay, aij is t, a2 comma 0 is t, which is 7. Okay, j plus plus, j becomes 1. Okay, we go back to check for while loop condition. Row sc dot next int 2, because 3 is the next int. We do t is equals to row sc dot next int. This is white space ignored, 3 is returned, t becomes 3. Okay, aij is t, a21 is 3, a21 is 3. Okay, j plus plus, j becomes 2. Okay, row sc has next int is 2, since 8 is the next integer, t is row sc dot next int, white space is ignored, 8 is returned, t is 8, aij is t, a22 is t, which is 8, j plus plus happens, j becomes 3. Okay, row sc dot has next int is true, since 21 is the next integer, t is row sc dot next int, t is 21, this is white space, this is returned, t is 21, aij is t, a2 comma 3 is 21. Okay, j plus plus, j becomes 4. Okay, row sc has next int is false because this input is entirely consumed. You come here, you go back to increment the value of I becomes 3. Okay, 3 is less than 3 is false. You come out of this for loop. Okay, and you have read this entire input, okay, through scanner into this matrix A. Okay, so I hope this video was helpful, and before we move on to running this on a system, it is required that if you like this video, if you find this helpful, please subscribe to my channel, and let's move on to running this on a system now.
So this is the code we wrote, okay, to read the matrix input. Okay, we are reading all the rows here. Okay, m stores the number of rows after this loop, and array list rows stores all the rows of the matrix after this loop, and then finding the value of n, which is the number of columns, creating the matrix and reading the values into the matrix. I have taken a print matrix function to print the input matrix. It also prints out the number of rows and number of columns. Okay, so let me run this, and I'm going to use input redirection. Okay, so my first input is this. Okay, so 3 rows and 4 columns. So I'm going to say java read input matrix 2 in one dot txt. Okay, so this is my first input. So for this input I get 3 rows, 4 columns, and this is my matrix. Okay, let us run for int2.txt. Okay, so int2.txt is this. Okay, so 6 rows and 2 columns. Okay, all right, and then in 3.txt, which is one single column, so 15 rows and 1 column. Okay, so this was the solution to this question, and I hope this was helpful. So please, if you have any doubts, please mention that in the comments and I will try to answer all your doubts. So I hope this video was helpful. So please do like this video and subscribe to my channel, and it is a request to please subscribe because only 1 out of my 100 viewers are subscribed, and a subscription is very helpful for me to grow on YouTube. And please post in the comments if there is a question you want me to solve or if there is a concept you want me to discuss. Thank you.